Hi, this is Mark Rabin. Welcome to episode 170 of Lean Blog Audio. This is a post from January 9th, 2017 titled Better Metrics and Understanding Variation, an Important Topic for Healthcare. I want to make a quick announcement before getting into today's post. On Tuesday, January 24th, I'll be presenting a free KaiNexus webinar on a topic that I think is really important, not just for healthcare, but for any type of business. And that webinar is titled How to Manage Your Improvement Metrics More Efficiently and Effectively. So you can register for the free educational webinar today. You can go to www.kainexus.com/webinars, or if you go to leanblog.org/audio170, you'll find a link that'll take you there. Now, today's blog post is about this topic. My favorite book, as I've blogged about before, it's not a quote-unquote lean book. It's a book titled Understanding Variation, The Key to Managing Chaos by Donald J. Wheeler, PhD. Now, it might look like a book about statistics, and it has sort of an esoteric-sounding title, but I'd call it a management book. And it's, I think, a very practical and useful one at that. So I blogged about the book back in 2013. Again, you can find a link to this and everything at leanblog.org/audio170. So I'm really excited that Don Wheeler is going to be one of the keynote speakers at this year's Society for Health Systems Healthcare Systems Process Improvement Conference this March in Orlando. I hope to see you there. I'll be talking about the conference a little bit more in my blog post and podcast in my other series tomorrow. Again, that's going to be with Isaac Mitchell as my guest. You can read an interview that I've linked to with Don Wheeler in this blog post. It says, in part, he's asked, what is the most pervasive issue or challenge in health systems management today? Dr. Wheeler says, among the many challenges for healthcare management is the challenge of using data more effectively. We are told to be more data-driven, yet no one provides any effective mechanism for doing so. Big data techniques require extreme sophistication on the part of the user to avoid being misled by noise. That's the end of the quote. So I'm planning on doing a podcast with Dr. Wheeler soon. And thanks to the Society for Health System conference leaders for lining that up. So why do I think this is such an important topic? And I mean, I've thought it's an important topic. It's been that way in my mind for a long time. Now, I see a lot of organizations practicing some form of what they would call lean daily management or something like that. And there are in that a lot of good practices that I see, including continuous improvement or Kaizen boards, although sometimes these boards get overcomplicated in some way or too bureaucratic. So we want to look out for that. We see daily team huddles, although these huddles sometimes don't have much energy or team participation. And we see daily performance metrics and charts. It's good to see daily performance measures. I mean, it's certainly better than monthly metrics that lag, let's say, 2 months behind. Real-time daily metrics are much more helpful for understanding our system, driving improvement, and reacting to changes in the metrics, either good or bad. But the way these metrics are done sometimes causes problems, or it's just not an ideal way to do things. In my experience, the approach of lean daily management works better, and these performance tracking works better when we, one, use line charts for time series data instead of what Excel calls column charts. These are often called bar graphs. This is a relatively minor point in that changes in trends in bar charts are usually harder from a visual standpoint to interpret than lines. We do better when we avoid using statistically dubious linear trend lines that can be misleading. It's often unintentionally so, but you're never quite sure. Dr. Wheeler would say that a chart should never lead to somebody drawing the wrong conclusion about whether something is improving or not, or stable. So, and then we're also better off if we avoid arbitrary goals or targets for improvement, which can be demoralizing if management is asking the wrong questions, such as what went wrong yesterday, instead of asking, in some situations, how can we improve our system and its performance in general? The methods that Dr. Wheeler writes about and that I've used and taught really aren't complicated, but these methods help managers and teams make better management decisions. That leads to more improvement, better performance, and less frustration. Managers and teams need to be able to answer important questions such as, do we have a stable system with stable performance? Can we predict tomorrow's performance? How do we know if there's a data point that's worth investigating, one that's good or bad in a statistically significant way? How can we distinguish signal from noise in our charts and metrics? How do we know if a process improvement effort has led to meaningfully and sustainably better performance? And if our current performance isn't meeting our goals, how can we improve the system? And how do we know if we've made a difference? So I've written a number of blog posts that draw upon the lessons from the book Understanding Variation. Again, you can find links to those at leanblog.org/audio170. So we have the webinar coming up on the 24th of January. And then later this year, I'm also going to be teaching some workshops about these themes and the practical lessons from the Deming Red Bead experiment. And you can see, watch my previous webinar about that with Mike Steckline. It's linked in the blog post. So you can find information about these workshops. One is going to be at the Lean Healthcare Transformation Summit in Brussels, the European version of the summit in March, a workshop titled Understanding Variation and Performance Management, Practical Applications of Dr. Deming's Red Bead Experiment. And we're also experimenting with what we think might be a better title for the workshop. I'm going to continuously improve the workshop, do it again in Seattle this May through some workshops run by a nonprofit organization called Catalysis, which is formerly the ThedaCare Center for Healthcare Value. And I'm also going to be doing this in California in June at the Lean Healthcare Transformation Summit that's being held there. So that workshop title is Better Metrics, Understanding Variation and Managing Performance Using Deming Methods. So either way, I hope you can join me at one of those events, or if you'd like to talk about bringing these methods, a workshop and some coaching to your organization, let me know. And again, check out the upcoming webinar. Go to kinexus.com/webinars or go to leanblog.org/audio170.